One time Prabhupada met with Arnold Toynbee, who was a famous English historian, well known for his studies of Greece. He was the Greek scholar of all time so far. And we met with him face to face. Part of this is not on the tape that was recorded, but I remember it. I brought up the fact that the young people of today were revitalizing society by taking to Eastern religions, and religion in the East, and a kind of a mystique of Eastern religions was growing just like it did in early times in Greece. And I said, how do you feel about the West and how this fits in with Greek history? And he said, well, in the old times there was Athens and there was Sparta. Athens was the culture of grace and art. He said they perfected the plastic art, the art of statuary and form. He says, Sparta was the kingdom of war and militant. He says, now you have America and Russia. This was back in the 70s. He said, America has perfected the art of audio, the ear, sound vibration. That is the art of this American age. And he said, Sparta, meaning Russia, there may be a few columns left someday. Just like modern, you go to Sparta now, it's just a few columns. Athens is a thriving metropolitan city. So what he was saying, what he was saying is that America, the age of America, he said, and Prabhupada cut in and talked about how Lord Chaitanya predicted that there would be a golden age in the midst of the age of Kali where Krishna consciousness would be widespread. And Toynbee agreed that this was a very good possibility, that the blending of the Hare Krishna movement as like a parallel with the Greek mysteries, which went along with the growth of the Athenian Empire, were very similar, and that we would all experience. Toynbee was convinced that the American age has just begun. The golden age of America has just begun, he said at that time. Just begun, despite all what the doomsayers are saying. And it's coming true. Look at it. And inside that golden age of America, Krishna consciousness can flourish as its mystery, as one of its great mysteries. If the devotees of today take that opportunity and use it, there's no end to Prabhupada's movement. In the early days when the girls, Janaki, Jamuna, Malati, were cooking, taking turns cooking for Prabhupada, they always tried to introduce typical American favorites and turn Prabhupada on to these so-called delicacies. And invariably Prabhupada would, be gracious about it and say, oh, thank you, I'll try this. But always leave most of it. He didn't really like, but Janaki made him once artichokes, artichoke hearts, or a full artichoke with a dip, and showed him how to eat it. And he ate about 2, and he says, why all this trouble, this botheration? He stuck to his dal, rice, and sabjis. And in turn taught them how to cook. Well, he didn't like all the American gadgets, the American tastes. I asked him once, I said, have you seen Krishna? And he said, yes. I said, what does Krishna look like? And he said, you have seen this acetylene torch you cannot look with your eye? And then on to Moscow. This, you have to remember and realize, was the height of the Cold War period. There were threats going back and forth between America and Russia to drop hydrogen bombs at any moment. Leonid Brezhnev was in charge in Russia in those times, and it was very paranoid and extremely repressive regime. No one was allowed in. But Prabhupada kept saying, I want to go to Russia. I want to get behind this Iron Curtain and see what's going on. Those people, they would probably like to hear about Krishna. So no one was able to ever get Prabhupada a visa. And then by some fluke, Prabhupada asked me if I could get him one in Bombay. And I went down to the Russian embassy, and that very day I secured us visas and tickets to Moscow. A couple of days later, we were on our way. Those days are hard to imagine now. I mean, even in India, there was very little of anything available in the way of consumer goods or freedoms. Things like that were very scarce. In fact, I remember thinking, I better have a camera of some kind to take some pictures of Prabhupada in Russia. This is a historic occasion. And I scoured the streets of Bombay and was able to find finally a small brownie box camera with just a hole in one end for a few rupees, and that was it. And one roll of black and white film that had 12 shots on it. That was it. And those have subsequently become historic photos. They all came out perfectly by Krishna's arrangement, because I had no idea how to photograph anything. But anyway, there we were in Russia, and Prabhupada was just like a commander-in-chief behind the lines. You know, we knew we were being stalked by the KGB. We knew all kinds of things were happening. But in 5 short days, he was able to plant the seed of Krishna consciousness that resulted in thousands and tens of thousands of devotees growing. That's his potency. But always the daredevil, always the excitement. I mean, there's some of the things we did. There's a little known story of the time that Prabhupada met me and flew in, I believe from Bombay or America or England, flew in and met me in Zurich, and we speculated on the gold market together. We opened an account, a Swiss a bullion account, a gold bullion account in the Swiss Credit Bank, plunked down about $25,000 or $30,000, and because I had a hot tip. And I can just see Prabhupada sitting there in this lobby on Bahnhofstrasse in the elegant Swiss Credit Bank, all day long with his cane, sitting in the chair, watching the ticker tape go by. And then pretty soon, occasionally the gold price would go by and his eyes would follow it. He'd lean over to me and he'd say, shall we sell or shall we hold on our position? Finally, we sold after a few days. He said the price had tabled, it plateaued out, and it was getting boring sitting there, basically. It continued actually afterwards to go up substantially more, but Prabhupada had had enough. And he said, Shyamsundar, I think we should sell. Okay. We all doubled our money. Once we were near Mayapur. We had an old, I think it was a 48 Hudson or some old car, big car, but old. And I was driving. And we had left the main road. If you've been on the main road, you know how bad that is. You can imagine what this secondary road was like. Because we were going up to Birnagar to visit Lalit Prasad, who was Bhaktisiddhanta's brother, living brother. He was a very old man then. But we didn't know the road. We didn't know the way very well. We knew that it was up that road somewhere. And we drove halfway up or so, and we came to a place. There was a cement bridge over a big gully, but the water monsoon runoff had washed the bank away on both sides of the bridge for a distance of about 3 or 4 feet, as I recall. This may be an exaggeration, but it was some distance, maybe 3 feet. And we could see up and down this canal that there was no other way for the automobile to cross, and we still had 5 or 6 kilometers at least to go. So Prabhupada studied the situation. He didn't even get out of the car. He just studied the situation a little bit. Ramananda and some of the other big guys in back, Bhavananda, somebody else. He said, you boys get out. Shyamsundar, you back up and get going very fast, and we will make it. I got back at 50 feet or so and just gunned that old tank. And off we went. Whoa! We flew over that first gap, screaming across that cement bridge. Whoa! Flying. It looked like a Steve McQueen Great Escape movie. And the boys walked down around and got back in, and off we went. Expert at everything. Engineer also. He always used to know everything about engineering. He used to make drawings. In fact, it may not be well known how early the Mayapur project was actually started, long before what they're saying in their chronology. Back in, right after Tamal, or somebody got that first little tiny few bighas of land in Mayapur, Prabhupada planned the whole thing out one day in London, the very place, and sketched it all out, the temples and the buildings.